My ex-girlfriend once looked me straight in the eyes and said I was too dull to truly love. She walked out for a bass guitarist who gigged in sketchy bars. 6 months later, she was crashing on random sofas while I was comfortably settled in a house I owned outright. But let me back up to the beginning, because the collapse caught me completely off guard. I'm 32, a mechanical engineer living in Colorado. My days unfold exactly the way you would picture for someone in my line of work: steady, organized, and, according to her, painfully unexciting. I own a modest three-bedroom place I purchased at 28, share it with my dog Cooper, my truest companion, and fill most weekends either out on trails or tinkering with home repairs. Since that's how I recharge. Yes, I realize I sound like the textbook average guy, yet the truth is I truly enjoyed the rhythm I had built. My career followed a clear trajectory. My money situation stayed solid. I carried zero crushing debt, and I could book a trip without obsessively refreshing my account balance. Friends teased that I was the group's dad figure, the one who always carried jumper cables and could unclog a sink disposal at 3 a.m. I never imagined those traits would become a liability. Then Ashley came along. We dated for 3 solid years before it unraveled, and for the majority of that stretch everything felt genuinely solid. We crossed paths at a coworker's backyard cookout. She struck me as precisely the sort of woman you proudly introduce to family. Warm, approachable, quick to laugh at even my lamest puns. She handled reception duties at a dental practice, rented an apartment with a roommate, and soon spent nearly every evening at my place because, in her words, it actually felt like a real home. She'd spoil Cooper with treats, prepare meals while I finished whatever fix-it project I had underway, and we'd curl up for movies like any ordinary couple. For a long time, I believed we were heading somewhere lasting. The trouble crept in so gradually, I missed every warning sign. Ashley ran with a completely different circle: jobless artists, part-time bartenders, van lifers who labeled their rootlessness liberation. I held nothing against them. They simply weren't my crowd. Yet she began hanging out with them more frequently. Each time she returned, she carried this faraway expression, as though she'd tasted something I could never grasp. Little remarks started slipping out, harmless at first. She'd talk about a friend who impulsively bought a bike and rode to the coast with zero itinerary, or another who ditched steady employment to chase tour dates with his group. Wasn't that fearless and passionate? I'd listen and agree politely, though privately those tales sounded more like reckless gambles than courage. Gradually, the remarks sharpened. She began suggesting we should loosen up, chase random midweek getaways, quit scheduling every detail. I made real efforts, surprise weekend escapes, abandoning my Saturday rituals to follow her whims, but it was never sufficient because I couldn't rewrite my core wiring. I'm wired to check forecasts before heading outdoors, book maintenance ahead of time, and actually follow assembly guides. That's simply me. The final snap arrived on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I walked in from the office intending to mount new garage shelving when I found Ashley perched on the sofa, wearing an expression I'd never witnessed. She didn't wait for me to set my keys down. "We have to talk," she announced. I sat. Cooper padded over instantly and rested his head on my leg, sensing trouble. She stared at me in silence for what felt like forever before the words spilled out. She called me too kind, not as praise, but as a defect, as though thoughtfulness and dependability were poisoning her existence. She craved someone rougher around the edges, someone who ignited sparks, someone unburdened by color-coded planners and early retirement savings. I asked directly if another man was involved. Her face answered before her voice did. His name was Jake, 29, bassist for a group named Broken Pavement that played open mics and dim bars. To her, he embodied everything missing in me: thrill, presence, unpredictability. I sat quietly absorbing that 3 years could end because I had structure. She gathered her belongings that same night. I didn't plead or block the door. What argument could possibly bridge such a gap? She sought turbulence. I supplied calm. Those are non-negotiable foundations. Strangely, she appeared almost let down by my composure, as if she'd hoped for begging, shouting, some cinematic scene. Instead, I carried boxes to her car, returned her key, and watched her taillights disappear. Cooper sat beside me on the steps, and I thought at least my dog wouldn't trade me for a musician. The following weeks felt surreal. I channeled everything into gutting the bathroom. Smashing ceramic with a sledgehammer proved oddly healing, while my buddies stared in disbelief when I explained her reason for leaving. My closest friend could fathom how dependability had become a deal-breaker. I wasn't shattered in some theatrical way. Mostly I felt puzzled, like I'd been disqualified from a role I was born to play. I kept replaying Too Nice and wondering when basic decency turned into a reason to flee. Still, I never pursued her. No messages, no calls. I simply continued my steady, unflashy routine, unaware that her thrilling chapter was quietly imploding. Hearing fragments about someone's downfall secondhand is like assembling a jigsaw you didn't request. By the time the complete image emerges, repair is usually impossible. Roughly 3 weeks post-breakup, bits of news filtered through shared acquaintances. Jake, the electrifying bassist she'd chosen, matched every stereotype his band name suggested. Part-time employee at a guitar store, generously called employment since he routinely called out. No fixed address, couchsurfing between friends' places for over a year. His band performed for tiny crowds who mostly came for inexpensive drinks. The real twist: Ashley, who fled my stability, was now funding this man's entire lifestyle. Details arrived in drips. One friend heard from her old roommate that Ashley had shifted into a shared place with Jake. Except Jake contributed nothing toward rent because he was perpetually between gigs. She covered his share, stocked the fridge, filled his tank whenever the van sputtered. Another spotted them at a show. Ashley sat isolated at a table looking drained while Jake chatted up women between songs. The guy who supposedly electrified her treated her like an inconvenient wallet with zero personality. I stayed silent, offered no counsel. Just kept tiling and grouting like any ordinary person who completes tasks. Then came the Home Depot run-in one Saturday. I was debating pipe wrenches in the plumbing section when I heard my name. Turning, I scarcely recognized her. She dropped weight not attractively, but in an unhealthy, worn-out manner. Hair messily tied, drowning in an oversized sweatshirt that clearly belonged to someone else, heavy shadows beneath her eyes. She tried playing it cool, inquired about my current project. I mentioned the bathroom work. She lingered far longer than necessary, obviously hoping for more, but I kept replies brief and courteous. She said she needed bulbs because her place's fixtures had failed. Note, she said her place, not ours, which spoke volumes. I excused myself to another aisle and left before any plea could form. That meeting lingered. Not pity, just astonishment that this was the same woman who once declared me insufficiently thrilling. A week afterward, the online nudges began, likes on ancient pictures, comments on long dormant posts. I ignored them. Then texts arrived, light at first. How S. Cooper, I miss him. Transparent code. My replies stayed clipped, polite, closed. One midnight my phone lit up with her name. I was reading in bed, Cooper snoring beside me. Curiosity won, I answered. Immediate sobbing, heavy, gasping cries. Between breaths she pieced together the story. Jake blew rent cash on a used guitar off Craigslist. Explosive fight followed. He branded her controlling, stormed off. No response to her 17 calls. Then came the line that actually irritated me. You always knew what to do. I missed that. I inhaled slowly, remained level, and delivered plain reality. Contact the landlord, explore lease options or subletters, and perhaps stop banking on a nearly 30 couch dweller suddenly turning responsible. No offer of cash, no crash pad invitation, no co-signing. Just straightforward guidance like I'd give anyone. I ended the call citing early work. She asked to meet face to face. I declined, cleanly, no elaboration. The contact persisted sporadically for weeks, voicemails requesting apartment leads, landlord referrals, lease reviews. Each carried raw desperation, yet I left them unanswered. Eventually they ceased. Word reached me why Jake vanished, blocked her everywhere, never returned. Eviction followed since she couldn't swing full rent solo. She landed back on the same friend's couch she'd shared pre-me. The full-circle irony stung everyone watching. Meanwhile, I pressed forward, finished the bathroom, advanced at work, hiked regularly, quietly moving on without fanfare. Then Rachel appeared, not with drama or lightning bolts, but through an ordinary Tuesday meeting. 2 months after the chaos, a big commercial job paired our engineering team with a landscape firm. Rachel sat across the conference table, portfolio open, speaking about grading and drainage with clear authority. She owned her own practice, 6 years running, and tackled technical topics with genuine passion. We collaborated heavily, endless emails on slopes, walls, specs. Practical discussions that outsiders might label dull but felt effortless between us. She owned a house nearby, mid-renovation on her kitchen. When I mentioned my recent bathroom completion, she asked precise questions about materials instead of glazing over. 6 weeks in, we grabbed post-meeting coffee that stretched 3 hours. She shared how she launched her business fresh from grad school, bought a fixer-upper, slowly reshaped it, raised 2 rowdy rescue dogs she adored. I told her about Cooper, the trails, demolishing walls to process a breakup. She laughed warmly, not mockingly. Then she said something that landed deep. Being steady is underrated. Dependability is genuinely appealing. We made it official soon after. The contrast with Ashley was night and day. Rachel required no theatrics or edge. She valued consistency, exactly my strongest suit. We scheduled trips far ahead, swapped contractor tips, debated codes. It felt deeper than any impulsive escape ever could. Her circle included planners and builders who respected long-term thinking. 4 months into us, roughly 6 since Ashley left, we bumped into her and Jake at the grocery store. Rachel and I were debating dinner ingredients when we spotted them arguing over apples. Jake looked the part. Torn clothes, band shirt, perpetual fatigue. Ashley appeared marginally recovered, less gaunt, more rested, but carried a guarded edge life had carved into her. They noticed us simultaneously. Ashley's posture stiffened as her gaze flicked from Jake to me to Rachel, visibly calculating the gap between our paths. Jake, ever brilliant, smirked and tossed out, "Still boring, huh?" Rachel scanned him calmly and replied, "Still broke, I see." I wrapped an arm around her and we walked on. Behind us, Ashley hissed something at him about making it worse. I never learned the aftermath. I'd stopped caring. Everything settled naturally afterward. Rachel and I combined households 8 months later, purchased a solid fixer-upper we both loved shaping. Cooper bonded with her dogs. Weekends became joyful routines of store trips, trails, and joint projects. We married quietly, a year on, intimate, meaningful. Through the grapevine, I learned Ashley relocated to her parents' place, landed steadier office work in healthcare, and dated a finance professional. I genuinely wish her well. I hope she discovered what she truly needs. Jake, last I heard, still rotates couches and chases bar gigs, still waiting for a breakthrough that discipline would have helped create. Today I live in my calm, planned home with a wife who finds reliability sexy. I tackle engineering work, map vacations months ahead, and feel more content than ever. The lesson carved itself clearly. Thrill-seeking men supply anecdotes, dependable ones build tomorrows. Ashley chased sparks and landed in disorder, pursued wildness and met unreliability, desired moment-to-moment living and got someone unable to see past Friday. I remained myself, the guy who forecasts weather, studies manuals, saves for the future, and the right woman recognized those exact qualities as strengths. The universe delivers irony in quiet ways. You spend years fearing steadiness makes you forgettable. Then someone arrives who views it as the most magnetic trait you possess. Rachel never asked me to invent spontaneity or mystery. She embraced the man who prepares, follows through, plans sensibly. And together we created something lasting from the ordinary. Being ordinary isn't a flaw. For the right partner, it's the foundation. The wrong one will trade you for a bassist who can't cover rent, and that departure becomes the greatest gift they could give.